Welcome to Innistrad week,
Yes.
when I get to wear my hat.
Yes. You get to wear your hat. I mean, you could wear that hat every time we film. You could wear that hat everywhere you go.
But I get to wear it today!
Yes. Yes, you do.
So what are we going to do today? Innistrad Remastered comes out tomorrow, I think. Well, or 2 days from now, as of this recording. As of when we're recording this.
Sure. I don't know what day it is.
That's fair. We're recording this a couple days
Yes.
before Innistrad Remastered comes out. It's a reprint set because it's a remastered set. Therefore, you don't necessarily get anything new mechanically, but you do get new art because of the new treatments, and in a few cases, because they just commission new art for a few of the cards that are in the set. I suppose before we get into the new art, if we're going to talk about this at some point, let's just talk about it up front. How awesome the Delver cycle is.
Yeah, we were just looking at this briefly moments before we started recording. And yeah, we start out with the Delver Secrets.
And it has to be the classic Nils Ham art, because I know there's been a more recent printing with updated art, but this is about the original. And no, they included the original in the remastered set.
Yes. So yeah, you have the 1/1 human wizard looking at the little insect monstrosity.
Mm-hmm.
And then that transforms into the Insectile Aberration.
Which is a 3/2 with flying, very notably. And then in the next Innistrad block, Shadows over Innistrad, they included the Aberrant Researcher. Also a 3/2 with flying.
Yeah, so new iteration of this creature. But we were speculating, this is the same critter.
Yeah. Like, it looks slightly different, but but on closer inspection, I think it's intended to be the same being started as the Delver of Secrets and then transforms into the Insectile Aberration. Then sometime later, they have pupated.
Yeah, because on the flavor text for Aberrant Researcher, it says metamorphosis is a process. And if you look at the Insectile Aberration, it looks like it is emerging from a chrysalis of some kind.
Yeah.
I love how they have this weird blend of, like, praying mantis parts. And, like, we have the mantis, the raptorial claws up front. And some mostly mantis-looking parts, but it's Innistrad, so, like, you know, they're a little different. And then, yeah, the Aberrant Researcher iteration, like, it looks a bit more humanoid, but it still has the raptorial claws, and then it's got this extra set of arms down here to grab potion bottles and stuff. And then you have the Perfected Form, which is a 5/4 with flying.
Right. When was the next? Were both the Aberrant Researcher and the Docent of Perfection in the Shadows block, I think? Yeah, so the Aberrant Researcher came along in Shadows over Innistrad, and then in the next set of that same block, so that was, 2016. Yeah, so one set right after another. Then they arrived at the Docent of Perfection, the final form of this beautiful monstrosity, which is a...
what a beautiful monstrosity it is.
Yeah, and what has it gained here? I mean, it starts off being very mantis-like, but now it's got the fully formed wings. It's just got a fat abdomen.
Yeah, it's got some really developed mandibles up front.
Yeah, but then when it flips into the final iteration, it's... I guess I hadn't looked as closely in the past, or I'd forgotten because of my famously poor memory, that the kind of hulking thing in the shadows in the background is actually the main creature here. All these researchers in the foreground, those are the 1/1 tokens.
Yeah, these are the 1/1 wizards. They're kind of like, it feels implied to me that they're kind of like thralls.
Yeah.
Like they're, you know, Eldritch Moon was very like cosmic horror, kind of Lovecraftian stuff. So like I feel like these guys are all under some kind of mind control, or like they don't seem fully in control.
They're a hive mind situation.
Yeah, of what's going on. And also, like, if you look at them, like, this 4-figure, they've kind of got weird arms now. Like, they're a little bit insectile themselves.
Yeah. And they have just antennae sprouting off their head. But the thing in the back is no longer, you know, an insect. It is now, in the spirit of everything, turning into an Emrakul.
Yeah.
It's been Emrakuled, right?
It's been because now it's an Eldrazi insect.
Yes. Exactly. And I guess that makes sense, because in Shadows over Innistrad, they had not revealed that it was Emrakul who was making all the nonsense happen.
Yes.
The full-on tentacle reveal happens in Eldritch Moon when this card comes out, and then we can see her influence upon this being.
These bug people, that's my goal in life. I want to be a bug person.
Okay. You want to be the final iteration, or are you just happy to be as part,
I just
want
to be a part. I just want to be a part of the club.
Well, that could probably be arranged.
See, that seems doable, right?
Yeah, it does. Realistic goals. That's good.
Yeah, it's important to have realistic goals.
All right, then I think the next category of things that we wanted to look at were just the cards that are part of the main set that got new art, not necessarily as part of a special treatment. This may not be an entirely comprehensive list, but I think we're going to touch on most of them. But Lingering Souls. It's a classic. It's been a number of master sets now. The original art was from Dark Ascension, and it features what I think of now as pretty standard spirit art for the Innistrad plane, where the white spirit cards, they have either a yellow or white translucent humanoid with possibly warped features. Makes sense. But then in subsequent printings, they pretty quickly replaced that. I think this is one of the dual decks.
Yeah, like that's Sorin versus Tybalt.
Yeah. And in the Modern Masters reprinting with this alternate art, I'm not sure why they did that at that time, but I presume they just want an excuse to come up with new arts for cards.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't, this is probably something I should research more, but I don't always know why they do new arts. If it's purely a choice like, hey, we want to do a new interpretation of this, or if there's other reasons that they might choose to like recommission art for something.
Right. And so I'm really curious in this particular case, because then we look at the one they've commissioned for this remastered set, and it's quite different than most white spirits in Innistrad.
Yeah, this feels more like Duskmourn.
Or like the blue, because one of the other cards we're going to look at in just a minute is a blue spirit, where they seem to have gone the other direction and tried to standardize it to look like the other blue spirits in Innistrad. But here they've gone away, and blue glowiness is a hallmark of the blue Innistrad spirits, not the white Innistrad spirits. So I don't understand why they would go that particular direction.
That's true.
But this is also perhaps the only black and white spirit, because the flashback card is black, and the spirits do look more like zombies. They're decayed figures, unlike all the other white spirits that we see. So
bookmark here in case you want to cut this part.
Yeah.
But you know how we were talking about certain banshees earlier?
Yeah.
I just noticed something about the original Lingering Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just the exceptional cleavage.
Yes, the exceptional cleavage.
Yeah. That could have been a reason they could.
But then they've already got this other Lingering Souls art.
Well, you see, so I could totally buy the argument that they do the original release of it. Then they say, okay, that was a little bawdy. We don't want that to be quite the way we're presenting things, so let's switch to this new art, which they included in the Sorin versus Tybalt dual deck. But then they went back.
They're like, no, let's go back.
in the modern event deck in 2014 to the original art. Yeah. So that kind of makes me think that wasn't a factor, or I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know.
But it did. So I don't know. It's odd.
It is interesting. I think it's because I've never seen the card blown up at this size before. I've never noticed that until right now when we were looking at it, and I'm like, oh.
yeah. It's a very Ren Fair corset.
It's very I feel like I'm at Ren Fair.
Yeah. So all I have is curiosity here about why they made this final decision. But on that subject, let's go ahead and talk about the Morkrat Banshee then, which is the other one featuring a lot of cleavage. And I think in this case, it is kind of obviously overly sexualized. And like that struck me when I very first saw this card.
It's a choice, yeah.
Yeah. It feels, it's clearly very deliberate. It's too exaggerated to not be deliberate. Especially with that tight corset and the incredibly thin waist. This just doesn't look proportional. Yeah. This looks like Barbie proportions.
She is like cinched in there.
Yeah. And what's curious is that they made this a Banshee card. Yeah. And the mechanic is a very banshee thing. It's very flavorful of banshee mythology, because a banshee is a mythological spirit from Celtic lore that heralds the death of someone, usually in a particular family.
Okay.
It's a harbinger of death. It tells you either that someone far away just died or they are about to. And it's most often appears as an old woman. And or a small person, like 1 to 4 feet, I think is what the Wikipedia said, because it's associated with fairies.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a fairy, sometimes, like a lot of mythology, there are conflicting sources, right?
Yeah.
But so big themes are tiny and old woman. And a lesser theme seems to be virgin, but I don't think that's in kind of the modern sense where that word can get weirdly sexualized, ironically. But in terms of like a younger unmarried woman. But not, there's no reason for that concept, that group of concepts to be hypersexualized like this card is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when we were looking at it just a few minutes ago and kind of, we try not to really talk too much about the stuff we're going to talk about before we start recording, so it's kind of fresh.
Yeah.
But, the only thing I could come up with was that this was a deliberate choice to make the viewer uncomfortable, in that you have the face with the jaw kind of unhinging. Like, we have this really spooky head on top of this body that you're kind of torn in two directions, where you're like, oh, she's kind of pretty. Also, her jaw is, that's not cool. That's a problem. So, I don't know.
And that is compelling.
Yeah.
Because this artist, we looked through this artist's other catalog of, 150
Yeah,
cards?
this artist has done quite a bit of work for Wizards of the Coast, and this is not, like, they've done a lot of
410 credits.
Svetlin Velinov, I think is the artist's name. So they've done a lot of non-human creatures, they've done a lot of beasts, they've done other humans. And this is not really typical of their style, in that, like, they're not doing these, like, overly sexualized characters most of the time, or at all, really. Outside of this example, this is kind of a standout in terms of the way she's depicted. So we were kind of...
Which does make it seem more deliberate.
Yeah, it's not something where you can just be like, oh, this is just this person's style. Like, this is how they draw people. No, that is not the case. So this does feel... I think I did make a joke where I was like, I don't know, maybe that was part of the art direction. This is really important.
Well, and at first I thought, well, maybe they were confusing the banshee with other mythological beings, like a siren or a succubus, who is specifically, like, sexuality and seduction is part of their lore. But that's just not the case with the banshee. That's not what it is.
It's an interesting choice. But then they, for Jumpstart 22, we get a new piece of art, which is very similar.
In
terms of colors, and it kind of feels like a reimagining of the same figure.
Right.
Almost.
It seems like they just wanted to tone down the sexualization, but otherwise, good concept. And but this one also, I think the streaks in the white hair do kind of hint at perhaps being an old woman. Like the body style doesn't, like the rest of it doesn't particularly, but it's definitely edging away from where the original was. But then it's odd to me, that was only 3 years ago they had recommissioned a new art, and they've recommissioned for this set another new art.
Yep, we have a completely new iteration of the Morcrit Banshee.
But once again, it's a really close reference to the original, except desexualized, it seems like.
Yeah, a bit. It's, she's still wearing, like, the really tightly fitted corset sort of top.
Yep.
And she does still have some cleavage, but it's not as emphasized.
It's much more
as the
subtle.
original one. Still very monstrous. It looks like she is terrorizing someone in the lower quarter.
Yeah, this one's a much more active moment. Like, she's leaping instead of standing there menacingly.
There's someone in the corner that's, like, trying desperately not to hear her screaming.
The distended jaw is much more obvious because the angle gives us a really high contrast between the light blue black background and the darkness.
Yeah, and we still have the moon, so the moon is present in both the original and this one.
And I think that's what makes it feel such a clear... Well, that and how much the figure occupies in the frame,
Yeah.
where she is, and the angle and everything, where the camera is tilted left a bit. So there are a lot of elements that make it a really clear homage. Like they weren't trying to totally reimagine this; they were trying to vamp on it.
Yeah, it's interesting that we have a new art, like you said, since we just got one in Jumpstart 22. So I don't know if that's part of a like, I know some of the Jumpstart sets have had unique arts for things. Maybe they didn't want to reuse that because it's like, oh, this is for Jumpstart only.
I wondered if they wanted that to be more generic and not of Innistrad, because they're
maybe.
One of the significant differences between these two is there is a tombstone with the symbol of Avacyn.
Yes, like this one is very clearly on Innistrad. The Jumpstart 22 version, not necessarily.
Yeah. Morkrut is a place in Nephalia in Innistrad, so I mean it still is, but it does make it just like more generic fantasy. Yeah, so that's neat. I like all versions of this card. It's a neat card.
Yeah, this is cool. I've actually never played with this card before.
Yeah, there's a variant on it in Foundations though that does -13 instead. What's that one called? Here it is. Tragic Banshee.
Tragic Banshee.
Mm-hmm. Which...
That's fun.
I think with that hat is also an Innistrad.
She went to her own burial service. That's cool.
Yeah. But I like the Banshees.
Yeah.
That is a great mechanical tie-in. That a Banshee, a mythological figure who is a harbinger of death, they show up and something gets a big minus number. That's neat.
Yeah, -13 is that's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's extra fitting that in the Foundations one they would pull in the morbid mechanic, which was from Dark Ascension originally. Yeah.
I like that mechanic. That's fun.
All right, not trying to make a Foundations episode. Let's I guess get back to what's next on this list.
Back to our list.
So I had Niblis of the Urn on here from Dark Ascension. It hasn't been reprinted until now. And this is another one where they might have been just trying to standardize their spirit design. But really, I don't see this new art as being much more consistent with the art direction, especially because it's got this sort of blue tint, and most spirits in Innistrad, including those printed in this remastered set, have yellow or white spirit humans. And the original one here was white instead of this bluish, which again seems like they're emphasizing being associated with the blue spirits.
Yeah, I think visually I do kind of prefer, aesthetics aside of like as far as unifying spirits within a color. I kind of prefer the blue one. It stands out to me a bit more, and I think it looks really nice with the white border. Whereas the original one is just a little bit more
washed out.
It's kind of all like, I don't know, the colors don't pop out at me as much. So I do kind of like that visually. But I see what you mean about like it is a departure from how spirits have been previously depicted, and does kind of make you wonder if like what is the intention there.
Yeah. I love the candle theme in Midnight Hunt, the entire set. Absolutely adore that, and I like that that's included here. That's if it's just an excuse to get more candles on cards, I am about it.
Yeah, I support that. I love the levitating candles here. I think it's very spooky.
I like the there's a lot in this figure now.
It's
and
very detailed.
I like this. Is like a sensor here.
Yeah, we went from hyper not detailed.
Yeah.
Just sort of these suggestions of a form.
Now that we're looking at these enlarged on our screen, I wonder if this is essentially from a nude model, it looks like, and maybe that, but it's so pale you can't. I have never noticed that before.
Yeah.
But maybe that was considered too risque in retrospect, and so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that factored in, but I really like this this new one with the hyper detailed outfit, and the colors I think look really nice. I like the hovering candles where, like, I don't know, this one just feels a lot spookier to me than the original one. I think it's just so much more suggestion that, like, at first glance, I don't entirely, like, my brain doesn't fully process what's happening here. I'm like, oh, there's a figure. It's kind of...
In the original art.
In the original one.
You're right.
So...
There isn't a lot of... This one just kind of feels peaceful.
Yeah.
Which I like this as
like,
art.
That's fine. Yeah, as art, it's lovely.
But maybe it doesn't make as good a card.
Yeah, I think I like the reimagining of this art as a creature card.
I guess there's also a much more prominent urn in this.
There is, yeah. The urn is present in the original one, but it's more off to the side. It's not as clearly an urn.
Yeah,
in
there's
my
just
brain.
some jars there.
Yeah, there's various vessels, and one of them has this light kind of spilling out of it. But this other one, the newer one, like, there's a very clear representation of a classical kind of urn jar with ashes or something spilling out of it.
That is a cool effect.
And there's a skull right next to it.
Yeah.
Which is also cool.
And that reminds me, I absolutely missed one of the things I most wanted to talk about, which is Deadeye Navigator, who got new art here, and that surprised me.
We skipped over that completely.
And this absolutely ties into why I was talking about spirits and what they look like in this set, because the original art for this card, I think I've always loved. I think it's brilliant because when I first look at it, I don't notice I'm looking at a spirit. I see two figures on a boat, and it's only when I look a little more closely that I realize, oh,
one of them is kind of translucent.
It's translucent.
Yeah, which is
and
very
so
cool.
it's like this kind of spooky process of discovering, oh, that's not a normal human being. That's cool. That seems so in flavor of the set.
Yes.
Whereas this new Deadeye Navigator, however cool it is, it's like, I've seen this before. I've seen Mausoleum Wanderer, and I've seen Lantern Bearer.
This one is super obviously a spirit.
It is. And it's super obviously an Innistrad spirit. It fits in with him very well. And it's cool.
It is.
But it's not as unique compared to the others, like, of its kin. Which seems to be kind of the point. I think they wanted to make it more in line with the others. But I think something was lost there.
Yeah, I realized that I kind of prefer a slightly more subtle horror. Like, I like that the original one is not obviously a spirit at first glance, and then the longer you look at it, you realize, like, oh, something's a bit off here.
And this one, the new one has a lot more action to it.
Yes.
And I feel like that's probably the intent of most game cards. Where, I mean, Magic's a game about combat, and it's supposed to be big and punchy, and things are supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But I love the old art, even though it's more tranquil and eerie. Like, I like having space for that. I want to hold space for that.
What's the meme thing with the hands? Have you seen that? It's from from the interview of from Wicked.
Yeah, I thought. Oh no,
they're holding space.
Yeah,
and
but
Ariana
the interviewer
Grande...
is doing this.
Okay, but Ariana Grande does this
like,
thing where she does like this is how she's holding her friend's hand. It's really odd. It's like very, very odd. But yeah, we should hold space for that. I love this card. I've actually played with Deadeye Navigator in Commander a few times. I've never attacked with it. I always just give it the soul bond so I can blink them.
Yeah.
But
it's important.
It's a really cool card. I like it a lot.
It is. I agree. Okay, so this Mass Hysteria is one of these cards that has been added to Innistrad Remastered despite not being from an Innistrad set or ever being printed in an Innistrad set. In fact, it has had one printing in an actual set, which was Mirrodin. All creatures have haste. 1 red for an enchantment. And that, it feels like this appears, I mean, it shows up all the time in Commander. Right?
Yeah, that's the only place I've ever seen it played because
I agree.
It's a 1 red, give everybody haste, and it's not going to matter what your opponents do with that because hopefully this turn you're going to do something really splashy.
Yeah.
So, now we have a new printing of Mass Hysteria featuring some werewolves.
Yeah, and so they took this opportunity when they're now printing all enchantments by default with the enchantment frame. Which for a while I think they created that for Theros.
Yeah,
maybe for original Theros.
I think that was an original Theros thing.
And just in the past couple of sets, I guess they started printing all
enchantments. I hadn't actually noticed that all enchantments were getting that treatment.
Yeah, I don't know if it started Foundations or Duskmourn, but it was recent, very recent. Yeah,
I hadn't noticed that.
Yep,
that's kind of neat.
And so Yeah, now we have 3 different frames for this. We have the regular, the modern red frame from Mirrodin, which is, I believe, the first set with the modern frame. Then we have the current, the lowercase modern, enchantment frame. And then we have the contemporary frame.
And then we have the retro border.
Yeah.
And there's also a secret layer printing of this, which I have never seen until today.
Oh, it's a cool looking secret layer.
It's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But what do we think of this actual art that they commissioned for this? I mean, I have to admit, and probably not a surprise to anyone who's watched us at all, werewolves are my least favorite of the Innistrad creature types.
I mean, werewolves are not my favorite as far as the creature types either.
They're still cool. They're just not as cool as zombies and vampires.
They're just
and even
not
Innistrad.
My favorite. I mean...
You know what? No, maybe spirits are my least favorite of the Innistrad. It doesn't matter. I love Innistrad architecture. I'm glad we got some in the art here.
I do like that.
I like seeing this half timber architecture style on a round tower. That's neat. I don't know if that's realistic, but I like it.
Yeah.
It might be realistic. I
think it's based on realistic concepts. I don't know that executing it in this way is realistic, but I like it.
Yeah. There's a lot of foreshortening going on with this, but they are just super beefy werewolves.
Oh, they're so beefy.
Yeah. It's a little bit... Is this a Three Wolf Moon reference?
Is it?
I mean, it's kind of subtle if it is, but look at the 3 wolves doing the different angles. And there's... I mean, it's werewolves in front of the moon, so maybe that's just like what you see all the time, but I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think it's fine. I think I'm a little bit biased in that I don't love werewolves, so I'm like, it's fine. I don't really have much else to say about it.
I love the Shadows over Innistrad werewolves where you could flip them once and they'd stay flipped.
Yeah.
I don't like tracking day and night.
I will say that my bias against werewolves has nothing to do with them being werewolves. It's entirely that, where I'm like, I don't want to have to track this. I don't want to have to deal with this. I'm not going to play with them.
Yeah. Yep. But if you play with like that Manadork from Shadows over Innistrad, speaking of, did they include that in this set, I wonder? Here it is. Ulvenwald Captive. Defender for 1 and a green, starts off as 1/2, but when you get... And it's just a Manadork. I love Manadorks. But then...
I mean, you do like doing big green stuff.
I do. And if you spend 7, including 2 green, it flips into a bigger Manadork who can attack. I love this card. This was also the first set I learned to draft in, at all.
Okay, so this has kind of a special nostalgic.
Yeah, I had meant to try draft for years. Yeah. I started binging limited resources podcasts.
You know, that's so funny because I started playing Magic so long after you did, but I learned to draft during Cons of Tarkir.
Right before this?
Right before
Or like a year before this.
Yeah, like a year before this, so I somehow beat you to that.
Yeah, you absolutely did, yeah. But
that was a terrible set to learn to draft in.
I believe that.
That was awful. Just like, hey, you've never done this format. Get in on this 3-color wedge nonsense. Fetch lands, yeah, those are good. You don't know why. You're gonna want to take as many of them as you can. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was just trying to get Siege Rhinos.
Yeah. All right, so I've gone way off topic.
Yes.
So back to Mass Hysteria.
Back to Mass Hysteria.
It's a card. It's neat that they reprinted it because people want it for Commander. Because,
sure.
I mean, I don't know.
It's a fun effect. I mean, it definitely creates some chaos because all creatures get haste.
Yep.
So, you know, that can make a fun game. Makes games go faster for sure.
Yeah. I figured this probably needed a reprint, and indeed, it's been up at like $30 in the past.
I guess so.
It makes sense that they give it a reprint here, and now it looks like it's dropped down to like 11. So that's great.
That's a lot more reasonable.
Exactly what we want reprints to do.
Yes, ideally reprints should make prices lower.
But the other interesting one here, another reprint from a non-Innistrad set, is Through the Breach.
Yes.
And here they have made it an Eldrazi card, which I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because this is what you're going to want to put through the breach.
I was not thinking that sense, but that's also true.
Yeah, because it's like, this is what you want to go get.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is an arcane. This is an instant arcane.
Yeah.
So
which means that it's from Kamigawa.
It's from Kamigawa. This is not from Innistrad originally, but I love the suggestion here, like, hey, if you don't know what to put into play, it's Emrakul.
Yeah.
In case you were wondering.
But what I had been thinking was that it's flavorful that it would be an Eldrazi.
Yes, no,
because she comes from somewhere else.
She comes from outside the Blind Eternities.
Yeah.
Yeah, or from the Blind Eternities.
Yeah. Yeah, she goes through the Blind Eternities.
She goes through
Or maybe
them.
she doesn't, because Eldrazi just do their own thing. I don't know.
They just kind of do.
I don't know how they work.
Their hands like reaching into a fishbowl. I read that analogy somewhere. But yeah, no, I like the idea of the instruction. Like, this card comes with instructions now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what you put through the breach. You go get Emrakul and you put it into play.
Yeah. There you go.
And you can splice it onto Arcane. I bet that doesn't come up very often.
And that, it messes with the immersion of this being in Innistrad.
Yeah.
But
sure,
I get why they did it. It's
Are
fun.
there any other cards in the set that you can splice onto Arcane?
I very much doubt it. Nope.
Nope, it's just this one. So if you have two,
yes,
you could splice it onto itself, right?
I suppose you could. If you have 9 mana.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, why not?
And 2 things that you want to cheat on.
Why not?
Like, yeah, sure.
I think that's the dream now.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you wanted to play 2 copies of this, you'd have to pay 10 mana. But if you splice it, it's just 9.
Yeah.
That's getting away with
That's
something.
value.
Yeah. Then there are 2 more in this category.
Okay.
The Hermit Druid is the next one. Here.
There it is.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was it? Stronghold, maybe? Yeah. This is originally from Stronghold, so which means it's one of the Dominarian sets, I think, unless that happened on Wrath. I get confused with the early parts of that story. So Hermit Druid either comes from Dominaria or the artificial plane of Wrath. This is another one that has not had a lot of printings.
I imagine this possibly needed a reprint too.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, wow, yeah. This version is $16 right now. Stronghold's $21. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with this card, but clearly, definitely in that category, needed a reprint. So I'm glad they're doing it. And the art that they've come up with for this set, very Innistrad. This looks like this would come from Midnight Hunt specifically.
Yeah, this is super cool. I like the different animals in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, I'm just taking in all the critters here. I guess the small ones, they're shaped like boars, but if this is a human druid and they're normal size human, they're really small for boars.
Maybe they're like teacup pigs, but boars. Like, do you think that's a thing on Innistrad?
Teacup thorn boars.
Can you have a teacup thorn boar?
I would like
just
one
like
of those.
Put it in a messenger bag and carry it around. That'd be fun, right?
I need to make one of those.
Yeah.
For my cosplay that I wear.
No, you absolutely need that. You're wearing this to Chicago, right?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
We'll see if I can find a thorn boar in the next month.
All right.
It doesn't seem likely, but stretch goal.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
Okay, and then there is one artifact that is in this category. The Metallic Mimic was...
Oh, I remember this card.
Yeah.
But it was from Kaladesh?
It sure was, yeah.
Oh, this is cool.
No, from Aether Revolt. So
Aether Revolt.
Kaladesh
Okay.
block.
Yes.
But yeah, and that I remember playing that at the time and like trying to make Vampires decks work.
I bought
in
this
Standard.
for my Vampire Commander deck.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. I really like this robot Cathar creature. This is nifty.
I haven't looked. I'm presuming this is another one that just needed the reprint.
Maybe.
Looks like the originals are $5. There are copies from Ixalan Commander that are $3. So this isn't really financially in need, but I suppose Innistrad...
I mean, it's great for Typal decks.
Exactly.
So, like, if you're playing...
And that's what Innistrad is all about,
If you're leaning into a Typal deck, then this is great.
So it fits well here.
Yeah.
I presume the limited archetypes in this remastered set reinforce the same Typal decks that have been reinforced by all the other Innistrad sets, so presumably this fits well
this
there.
also is great where, like, if you happen to get Edgar Markov, he deals with 1/1 counters, and this is a super great addition to that. So
I don't think Edward needs any help, but yes.
No, he definitely doesn't need any help, but
here it is.
Here it is.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to do with this back when I had an Edgar Markov deck. I was like, this is going in that deck so I can make these vampires even bigger.
Yeah.
It's like so they can be even more annoying.
I was just playing the Madness vampires in Standard at the time, which was like the Stensia. I'm doing it again. I'm making it so I'm going to have to pull a bunch more images in.
Yeah, we got to go look up a bunch more pictures now.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop talking about that.
But yeah, this is super cool. I really like this art.
I do too.
I think this is very neat. I haven't decided if I'm going to go out and buy any of this set yet. I kind of want to just because it's Innistrad.
Yeah.
But I also have a bunch of store credit at our local game store, so maybe I just pick up some singles.
That wouldn't be terrible.
And I've been meaning to go through my collection and actually like trade in and cull some stuff just because it's reached a point where I'm like, I don't need all of this. So maybe I'll have even more store credit. Who's to say? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I have a hard time doing that myself.
Getting
rid of anything.
I say that. I have yet to actually do it.
Yeah, sure.
So, who knows?
Yeah. So that's everything we wanted to look at that has just new art in a standard frame here. But now let's have a look through the borderless art treatments and see which ones of those are particularly remarkable.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. So there's 25 cards in this collection of borderless iterations.
I'd like to have a look at Thalia here.
Yeah.
Not because this image speaks to me so much, but because Thalia gets so many printings.
She has had quite a few.
Yeah. So the original version of this card was in Eldritch Moon. But there's a second Thalia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is maybe the more often reprinted. Right. Thalia Guardian of Thraben was she was the original in Dark Ascension.
Yeah.
And she got a reprint into Standard recently. In 2021. Time flies.
Yes.
But so she's been showing up.
She has been
years,
reprinted in a number of iterations here.
Yeah. But Thalia Guardian of Thraben was the second iteration of this character, and she has had some reprints. I don't honestly recognize this promo art from Eldritch Moon.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. What does it say? Buy a box? Scroll down. Yeah, buy a box promo.
Yes,
okay,
you're right,
I guess that's why I never saw it, because I did not buy a box.
But then there was a Secret Lair art in the 30th anniversary. And that's it, huh? I thought there were more. I guess I was confusing.
You must be thinking of the other one.
With the other one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is interesting that she got a new iteration.
Yeah.
In a borderless full art.
The most remarkable thing about this seems to be the truly stark white hair, because she usually has like silvery white hair.
I mean, my impression of her was like platinum blonde.
Right.
But this is like white.
This is like magically white.
This is like Targaryen white.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Which I guess, like that previous printing for Guardian of Thraben, if you go up a little bit on this screen, that one, like her hair does look pretty light, but it still kind of reads more platinum blonde.
Yeah, naturally colored.
Yeah. Where like this is,
I shouldn't say naturally,
not
but like
naturally,
realistically,
but like more realistic. Where this is like just very like it's the same color as her cloak,
right?
Which is like this very stark snowy white.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, that's and I don't know if that's just partially like the light that we're seeing here, because she's like standing on top of all these dead zombies. And
this pose is also very. It's not just heroic, but it's triumphant.
Yeah.
Because in the previous Standard Heretic Cathar art, she looks certainly competent and I suppose still heroic, but she is in Innistrad. She looks like
she's in the middle of battle.
Yeah.
Where this one, the borderless version, this looks more like... So this reads more like portraiture to me. Like, this is not an actual thing that happened.
You're right.
This is how she's being depicted in her portrait, where
I was going to bring it into Targaryen terminology. Like, you know, like this is very self-assured peak Daenerys, right? Like when she believes she is the...
This is like what hangs on the wall in the throne room,
You're right.
Whereas the other one is like, this is a still photo. This is the journalism picture
that
they featured in the magazine.
You're right.
Here on the streets of...
This is a recruitment poster, propaganda poster,
Yeah,
maybe?
this is a propaganda poster. Like, Thalia needs you to join the Cathars.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
What is... For a second, I was thinking, why is the roof furry? But it's icy, I
Oh,
suppose.
that makes
It's
sense.
nice.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how Innistrad is rather cold.
We don't know very much about ice because we live in Texas. And there was ice on my car
And
this
yet,
morning.
it snowed yesterday
And
for the first time in 4 years.
Oh, no, I opened the door, saw it, like, I didn't go to work yesterday because we got a little bit of snow, and there was the option to not go to work, and I was like, yeah, I will not be coming in. And then today I had to go outside, and I went outside, and there was a bit of ice on my windshield, and I was, like, second-guessing how much I wanted to deal with that. So, yeah, we don't know about this. This is foreign stuff.
All right, who should we look at next? Do you want to talk about Thraben Inspector, or just...
We can. I want to talk about the Hullbreaker horror, but we can save that if you want to look at the Inspector.
I do love the Thraben Inspector. I love the variant that was, functionally identical in Murders at Karlov Manor. It's just such a neat card.
The Enters Investigates mechanic. Yeah.
Yep. It's just such a classic. It's weird to think of something from Shadows over Innistrad as classic now, but it absolutely is. It's a classic card now.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it kind of was.
8 years?
Oh, no.
But it's just such a great one drop.
Yeah. No, it is. It's got great stats. It's got a really cool Enters ability, and I don't know, the mood of this is super cool. Like, this reminds me of I don't know, like just the scratches and the fluff that she's pulling off the wall there, the full moon in the background. Like this is cool. Like,
and we have the light streaks in the background, which I think represent the presence of angels in Innistrad.
Okay.
I forget exactly how that works, but that's definitely just part of the Innistrad aesthetic. Cathars have this interesting range of how over the top their spikes are.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what it means, if it's like purely aesthetic or if it denotes their rank.
Yeah. But I mean, just some of the art representing Cathars is like, it tends to be a bit exaggerated compared to like realistic armor, but sometimes they just go full World of Warcraft. And this one is full World of Warcraft style over the top shoulder armor, and it's fun.
It is fun.
I don't know why an Inspector would have it, but it feels like it's just like protection from random werewolf attacks, and she's obviously
werewolves are known to go for your shoulders. You don't want them to grab those shoulders.
Yeah. All right. Good. Then Hullbreaker Horror.
Yeah.
I hate this card.
Why?
Because I played against it.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
The first time I interacted with it, it was on the other side of the table. It was actually at our friend MTG Critical's apartment, and I think it was like a birthday he had a box. I think this is right before you joined that social group.
Okay. I was like, I don't remember this.
I think you joined us for the Kamigawa draft. I think that's the first time we drafted together.
The first time we drafted together was actually your birthday with the Innistrad cube, but the first time after that, I think, was the Kamigawa draft.
Okay, yeah, and that was like 2 months after this.
Okay, so I wasn't present for this.
Yeah, so in that case, James MTG Critical crushed me with this. It was very unpleasant. And I do enjoy being on the dealing it outside, but
No, this is rough to go up against. That's fair. This is just a great example. Like, you're not going to agree with this at all, but I'm like, if not friend, why friend-shaped? Like,
that's not a sewer baby.
No, it's not a sewer baby, but I also like sea monsters, so I like every iteration of this card. This one is quite different from the previous printings that we've seen, or the standard art for it, because that one's more like a mutant lobster. Yeah. And this one just has so much mouth.
This one's more just standard Kraken.
Yeah, it's like Kraken. The head shape is kind of Geiger's alien. It's got the tentacles.
Which might be a little bit more like whale. Whale fused with octopus, fused with Emrakul.
Yeah. And it's like eating a ship, which, like, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, well, that's part of the name.
Yeah.
It's gotta be breaking holes in order to be a Hullbreaker horror.
I like how prominent that is, where in the other version, or the original version of it, the other art The standard art is by Svetlin Velinov, who we were just talking about earlier. There is a ship being broken, but it's not the first thing you see.
Yeah.
So I like how prominent it is in this borderless version that the ship is actively under attack.
Yeah.
It is being broken. And that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. All right, we have to talk about Laboratory Maniac.
Yeah.
Because this is just
it's
such
Labman.
It's Labman. It's a critical combo piece.
Yeah.
And it has had only one standard printing. It's had 2 secret lair printings. One is part of the Omar Rayyan secret lair. I love that secret lair.
That one's amazing.
It is.
That might be my favorite iteration, to be honest.
But that's just kind of its own little world.
Yeah.
It's just doing its own thing, and I love it. And then there's the Jurassic Park one, which is very much its own thing.
Yep.
So really, it's just been this one in-universe Labman.
Yeah.
Since it came out in original Innistrad. All those years ago. Well, that one is disturbingly long ago. That was 2011.
That was a long time ago.
That was 14 years ago.
That was quite a long time ago.
And much like the Morkrut Banshee, they seem to have kept a lot of the same elements. This is the same color scheme, the same expression on the face, the same design of the clothes. The machinery is different. This device in the middle of their chest, their vest, is arcing electricity in this one rather than these collar elements in the original art. But so much of it is overlapping, which is surprising, but also kind of delightful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pleased to see a new take on this card because it has had a number of reprints now with the same art.
Yeah.
And aside from the kind of out-of-universe Secret Lair editions, hasn't really had any reimaginings, so this is cool. I'm pleased to see this show up here.
The figure just has despite having so many similarities, the figure just looks different, like a different archetype. I'm not sure how that's being communicated, but
I think it's the lack of elbow-length gloves.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to pick one thing, I think it's that.
Yeah.
They're not wearing any PPE.
Standing for
personal protective equipment.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, their lack of rubber gloves.
Yeah.
I think that just says something about who they are
Yeah.
as a scientist, as a human.
What I guess I hadn't even noticed the rubber gloves. I just noticed the hair versus this like skull
also the
cap
hair.
that the first one's wearing. So the skull cap has a very Igor
Yes.
vibe to it, right?
Yes.
Which makes them feel almost like the assistant to the mad scientist.
More of the henchman.
Though almost like a hybrid of the two, because they also seem in charge, like they're doing their own thing.
Yeah, he's pulling the lever. Like he's about to initiate the experiment.
But something about that cowl or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this, just the wild hair is more like Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Crazy mad scientist.
This is like where we're going, we don't need roads.
Yeah. And though they have almost the same laugh, I think the fact that we're that much closer to the figure in this new art makes that a lot more visceral.
Yeah.
Like, I can almost... It's more of a contagious laughter. Like, I'll kind of want to get in on that, whereas the other one creeps me out a little.
Yeah, I think the other one, there's something about it that's a bit more creepy. It feels a little bit more evil, whereas the new Lab Maniac just feels kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
Like, they're
probably amoral, but they don't mean you any harm. They just are going to do
like, if
their
harm
mad science.
happens... that happens.
It can't be avoided.
Yeah, it can't be avoided.
Science!
The other one might wish to do you harm.
Yeah.
I
believe that.
Is very
like,
likely.
if they notice that you're observing, they're going to be angry.
I think that's very likely.
The new one does not care.
No.
Witness me.
Yeah.
Not to mash up my genres, because that's what the end writers in Ether Drift. They're Mad Max faction. Anyway, okay. Back to Innistrad. All right. What else bears conversation?
Rooftop Storm.
I love.
We got to talk about Rooftop Storm.
I love.
I know you
the
do.
Card.
Well, you like zombies,
and
you play this in a zombie deck.
Yes, I do.
And I never let you keep it on the board for obvious reasons.
It's weird.
Yeah.
The only reprint it's got, beside being in the list at some point, was
Commander. Yeah.
And I think this was the Midnight Hunt.
That looks like the Midnight Hunt Commander.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, now we've got this new. I really like the expression on the zombie's face on the forefront. Like, that's how I feel every, like, Thursday afternoon when I can't believe I have, like, one more day to be at work.
Yeah.
Or sometimes 2 more days. Like, he just looks so over it.
Yeah. But you know what? Tying it into the Labman conversation, here's where the henchman went. Because here's the skull cap.
Yeah, here's where he is.
It's like they took the character of the old Labman and split it in 2.
Yeah.
And you have the mad scientist who is still the Labman, and then the henchman, half of that being who got split out, has to go over here and...
Maybe that's what the original experiment does. It, like, splits them into 2 beings.
Yeah.
So now, like, all the evil henchman is concentrated in this guy's body.
Yeah.
And then just, like, the chaotic scientist is in the other body.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, this is cool.
Quite an effect with the corpse there. He's just like...
I love the quote, "What nature creates cannot be unnatural," and then it's credited to Dr. Zilke Grebs.
Zilke Grebs feels very fake as well.
Zilke Grebs is definitely a pseudonym. That is not his birth name.
That's his stage name.
And then doctor in quotations, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, he introduces you and he's just like, "You can call me doctor," and you're like, "Wait a minute,
I don't
what?
think I will.
I don't think I want to do that, though." And he's like, "Everybody calls me doctor." I'm like, do they? Zilke? Do they? I don't know that they do. Yeah, this is delightful. Are you gonna get this for your zombie deck?
I honestly like the original.
Okay.
This is fine, but yeah, I think I don't want to draw focus from my zombie creature cards.
That's fair. You do have your scab zombies in there as tokens, don't you?
The original Scathe zombies. I have alpha Scathe zombies as tokens.
Scathe zombies
because
as tokens.
I don't like foils, so I've got to bling it out somehow.
That's one way to do it.
Yep. We want to talk about this just because
we gotta talk. Why? So, Heartless Summoning. I remember this card very differently. In original Innistrad, we've got these real creepy looking bodies strung up on some meat hooks.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's the pre-meat hook massacre.
Yeah, like, really unsettling. Like, I remember seeing this and just like, oh, that's unsettling. And then
for you to be unsettled takes a lot.
Yeah, like, that's not a common thing. But yeah, I looked at this and was like, oh, that's kind of unsettling. But now we have Gisa front and center. Gisa, ghoul color Gisa. I forget her last name.
Chichani or Chikani.
Yeah.
I never remember.
Her and Geralf actually have
a last name.
That's
a relatively new piece of information for us.
But she is just striking a pose.
Yeah, that's her.
Which is very Gisa.
Yeah.
She's wearing shoes this time, which she doesn't always wear shoes.
Oh, yeah. And they are.
And they are
Hobbit stompers.
Boots. Yeah,
those are some goth club boots.
Yeah.
Which is a hair immersion breaking, but I don't know. Like, that is just part of the Innistrad aesthetic. Which
that's fine.
Might be immersion breaking in the larger sense that why is this whole plane so obsessed with buckles? But if you accept that, it's cool.
Buckles are the height of cool on Innistrad. Like, that's how you communicate how cool you are. So she's got buckles all the way up her boots.
Yeah.
Because of course she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very cool. But now I'm fixated on why is Heartless Summoning's original art so unsettling, and I think it's because we're kind of accustomed to zombies. They're creepy in their own way. If the concept of a zombie is new to you, it's probably equally unsettling. But these ones are on hooks.
Yeah, it's the hooks.
And it's like, is this abuse of zombies, or are these just not?
Is this zombie abuse? Just like, okay. Like,
but that's also not unsettling. What I think is unsettling is the idea that they're just different from zombies in some way. That they're
like, why are they?
I'm trying to describe a zombie because it's like they're dead, but they're looking at you. That's like a zombie, but this just doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, there's something about these that just it does feel like it feels kind of exploitative in a weird way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does kind of raise some questions about, like, okay, well, like, maybe we need to talk about how we're treating zombies that we unearth. And, like,
and it really is the eyes, I think.
I think it's there's something very unsettling about the eyes.
Yeah.
But then also the 2 figures in the back, like, the way they're just kind of slumped forward.
Yeah.
There's something about that. Because the one up front that's sort of looking at you, like, that one feels a little bit menacing.
Yeah.
But then the other two in the back, to me, like, they just feel very, like, they feel victimized. Like, they're just kind of slumped forward.
Yeah.
I don't know, just...
It's like they're malevolent, but they've given up.
Yeah.
They have ennui.
Well, they get -1/1. They cost 2
true.
less to cast, but they're going to come in, like, tired.
This is such a weird card.
It is a weird card.
I like the new one, though.
The new one's,
like,
it's very fun.
I'm impressed with the old one.
Yeah, no, the old one is, like, impressively scary. The new one is fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I don't know. Like,
it's fun in the same way a lot of her cards are.
It is.
But this
like,
is also fun in that way.
Like, Gisa just has such an energy about her.
Yeah, and this is perfect embodiment.
And that's perfect. Like, this is her energy.
Yeah. Which others of these do we really want to talk about? I think a braid.
A braid is very interesting.
A braid is, at this point, a pretty classic card. I mean, it's almost like...
It's gotten a lot of reprints.
I know it was a variant of Lightning Bolt, but it is really becoming that in current, at least limited environments. Like, a lot of sets have a braid, and it just fills that role, and it's good.
Yeah.
And it has had quite a few different arts. The original, I guess, is from Hour of Devastation. Where's this one from? Crimson Vow.
Yeah.
Wow, it actually didn't get it didn't start getting reprinted until Crimson Vow. But then since then, it's also been in Commander set, in, what is this, the Commander Masters. It got reprinted in the same set, the same secret lair as the
Mass Hysteria.
Mass Hysteria, yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting art for this one.
Yeah. This looks like a Roman Legionnaire. Which... What? Or not Legionnaire, but like it looks like one of those Caesar masks, right?
Yeah, and like this doesn't really feel like Innistrad per se, but it looks like this character is having their mask ripped off by some kind of bird.
Well, because the second ability is destroy target artifact, this reads to me like a golem,
Oh, okay.
It's an artifact creature that's being destroyed.
Yeah, like its mask or its face is just being destroyed.
Yeah, and like that is the creature. Perhaps. I mean, it's ambiguous, and it's good that it's ambiguous because it should be able to do either mode.
Yeah, it can do either or.
But the sword that we can kind of see through the text box there, doesn't that sort of look more like Greek or Roman?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple features about this that feel more like Greco-Roman, more so than what we typically see for Innistrad.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I do really like the red and gold.
Of the hair, too.
Yeah, the styling of the hair, colors, the styling of the armor, the colors, the red and the gold.
The colors I would buy as Stinsian.
Yeah.
Like, that's the vampires. I mean, it's a red card, so I guess my mind automatically goes there. But there is a lot of gold in there, too. But then, what is the creature? You noted that it's winged.
It looks like wings, and then it feels like talons coming, like, grabbing.
Well, that feels more griffin-like than...
Oh, it could be a griffin.
Are there griffins?
I forgot about griffins. I just forgot griffins existed.
Yeah. They do.
That's very insensitive of me.
It is, but I'm trying to move past that. But the wings don't look demonic, certainly, but the claws do, so...
Yeah, the claws are scary.
Yeah. Well, what are the Cathars ride the griffins that have, like, the stork heads?
Oh.
Maybe it's one of those. Oh. Like a griff. They just call it a griff.
Well, there's also, if we go back to
these have hooves, not claws.
Crimson Vow. If you go back to the Crimson Vow braid, there's also a bird on that one.
Okay, but I mean, on Griff's Boon, I'm simply wrong because if that is the standard creature design, but you said the braid.
Yeah, if you go back to a braid from, that one.
Oh.
There's also a bird in that art.
You're right. And it's large.
Yes.
It's similar.
It's like a big bird of prey kind of creature.
It's got a person whose mask has been shattered.
Yeah, it's kind of showing a similar theme. And then
brilliant.
So this one, so the flavor text on this one alludes to Falconwrath being a vicious falconer. So is this some kind of large predatory falcon that the Falconwrath's like sick on you?
Cool.
When they need to. So if we look at the art card, actually, we can see a little bit more of the armor. Can we check that out in more detail? Why is it doing
interesting.
this?
It changes the orientation.
Okay.
I can. Well, if you look at it sideways, that changes the whole feel of the thing. It looks like it's on the floor or on...
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, that doesn't really... Like, I still don't get I still get more of a sense that this is... Like, that this is taking place in the Gladiator cinematic universe.
Yeah.
More so than Innistrad. It's very cool.
It is. Yeah. All right, yeah. I don't think there's probably a lot more to say about that. It's neat, but I don't understand it fully. But also there's this clover
which
icon.
that's repeated on the armor.
Oh, you're right.
It's not quite the same. The only thing that it kind of reminds me of it all, and I think it's more the red, is Markov has a rosette sort of thing on his armor, but it doesn't look like that.
Actually, his color scheme, though.
Yeah.
Like the Markov... Maybe this is the Markov color scheme.
A little bit.
Huh. Okay. Well, I think we'll be looking at Edgar himself.
Yeah,
in a
I think
bit,
he's
so
coming up in a little bit. So
we'll possibly revisit this at that point.
How about Abundant Growth?
Yeah,
Do you feel compelled to say something about that?
I do, because this is another card that has been reprinted from that was not an Innistrad card.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm wrong. I totally thought this was from a different set.
Oh,
this came from
Avacyn
Restored.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
I could have sworn this was originally a Ravnica.
I thought
card.
that too. I don't know why I thought that, but
Yeah.
I thought this was from Ravnica.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay, but this has gotten a number of reprints a few times.
But were they in regular sets though? Okay,
No,
so
like
Masters
Command. What was that? That was Forgotten Realms Commander.
Dominaria United Commander.
Okay. Fallout, Secret Lair.
Yeah.
And now we're back with this is really cool art on the borderless printing.
The old art, I mean, it's nice, but it was kind of generic, which is, I suppose, why I was able to confuse it with Ravnica, because I just thought, okay, this is just a building. That's a Ravnica thing.
It's a building that is completely overgrown.
Which seems like a Gruul thing.
Yeah.
But I guess there's this figure in the lower left, which I hadn't noticed before.
Never
They kind of
seen
look
that figure.
priest-like.
Yeah, I've actually never seen them before today.
But I suppose that's kind of cathedral-esque.
Yeah.
And certainly this full art is cathedral-esque. And it's in, if we look at the art card, we can see it's in a graveyard, which is not so obvious from the, when the frame is overlaid on top of the graveyard part of it. It's honestly really kind of light and cheery.
It is.
Color
it's so bright
compared to most.
Yeah. I do really like this shadow, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of cast over the front.
Yeah.
It's an interesting lighting scheme, and again in the back with the moon, you have those lights that the angel lights. However that works. This is really cool.
It's like this tree is trying to be a bright shining spot in this world, but this world does not have a lot of tolerance for that.
Yeah, it's trying so hard.
Yeah. And there's mist all on the on the horizon because spooky world.
That's super cool. I like the mist.
Yeah. But I guess it reinforces the flavor of what the card is. Abundant growth. It's life finding a way and then bursting
abundantly
out. Even on gloomy Innistrad.
Yeah, I like that one. That's really cool.
Yeah, neat. I kind of want to talk about every single green card because I am who I am. This Cryptolith Rite is just pretty. Yeah. I don't think I have much to say beyond that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it, but I do agree it's very pretty.
And you know what? It's a card I like to play, but the original art is kind of bland, if I'm recalling correctly. I mean, it's
just like some cultists.
It's some cultists in a glade, but it's really dark. You can't make out much detail, which is
very dark,
which is moody, and it's a very Innistrad thing. But I think if I can inexpensively replace it in the commander decks I run it in, which don't have a gloomy theme, there's like my 5-color decks because I want to, this little burst of light. That's better for me. But then Nilsham,
the Cultivator Colossus. This is cool.
This is beautiful. And Nilsham is the same artist who we've talked about in other episodes, but also who did the Delver cycle.
Yes.
And I think he's the artist who led us to finding Hecatomb, the game, right?
I think yes. Yeah, shout out to Nilsham for helping us find Hecatomb.
Yeah, but this is so cool.
This is really cool.
And this is like quintessential example of what these alternate treatments can do for the game, which is to bring in what people will say and assert that Magic has lost its variety in art. And there was basically a big Mark Rosewater clapback where he said, well, yeah, if you ignore all of the alternate treatments we do, which are the main way we are addressing this, and like, here it is. This looks a little bit Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah. It looks a little bit like the big turtle from Neverending Story. It's just, I think the softness and the sort of vagueness of a lot of it really give it this ethereal storybook quality.
Yeah. No, this is super cool. Like, it's very ethereal, it's very fantastical, but it's also still a little creepy. Yeah. Like, it reminds me a little bit of like, there's something a little bit Pan's Labyrinth about it.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a bit, it doesn't feel welcoming per se, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Like, it really captures that sort of green, like, beastly energy of, like, this is cool and interesting and it's nature, but it's also still, like, it's very scary and it could hurt you.
This human hand and otherwise completely non-humanoid features is really creepy. That's almost Dali-esque.
Yeah, it does. It has like a surreal quality because like there's bears that are walking over the arm shape, and then they're like the open mouth is kind of a cave, and there's this twisted tree that's like growing out of there like a tongue. So it's
like this whole thing. It's a large creature which you can turn sideways, so it's clearly capable of movement.
Like, this thing can go smack somebody.
Yeah. But it clearly stays still long enough that trees grow in it. It has a waterfall. It has I don't know if those are like caracals or if they're like
there's something
deer
like
on
up
they're probably
on the
deer
back,
because there aren't a bunch of big cats in Innistrad generally, but
they don't have any weird two-eyed cats in Innistrad. That's another plane.
Yeah. This might be my favorite art from the set.
It's beautiful.
This
it's really stunning.
Absolutely living room test.
Yes.
Like, I would hang
you need this like in your foyer,
anywhere.
like the first thing people see when they come to your house needs to be that. That's going to tell them everything they need to know about you.
Yeah. Okay, here's one that I don't like as much as usual, Tireless Tracker, because I love the classic Tireless Tracker enough to put together
that's
cosplay.
Valid.
I'm wearing the hat right now.
That's fair.
So get out of here, even though you are honestly quite good art.
Very good art.
You're just not for me.
Yeah, this is great art. Really lovely piece. But yeah, I mean, you're wearing the hat.
I'm wearing the hat.
Of course, you like the other one better.
Young Wolf, do we like because it shows up in Yawgmoth's hospital?
That's the only reason I know about this card.
Me too.
It's probably the only reason most people know about this card.
Yeah, well, I noticed they print Undying without reminder text here.
They're like, you don't need to know what it is. And
if you're playing this card,
if you're playing this,
it's
you know
because
what
you were
it
playing
does.
that specific modern deck. And
you know what it does.
Yeah. It is pretty.
It's really good.
It's nice.
It's quite nice. I think this is not specifically like a Magic criticism, but something that I have seen in other art. And this is probably something that I'm more aware of because I work with dogs every single day. Yeah. But a lot of times when people are illustrating wolves, especially like in fantasy, in an attempt to, I think, make them look scarier, they really mess up the teeth. Oh. And this is a really good iteration where like you can see the teeth, but it's not over the top.
They're natural.
Yeah, like it still feels natural. Like this is a wolf. It's a 1/1 wolf creature. Yeah. Personally, I think a wolf should hit harder than 1 damage, but whatever. I'm not in R&D. So
I really like the texture of the fur too.
Yeah.
It looks textured. There's a softness
like it looks
to it,
fluffy.
But it's not. But I think that's an overstatement because it doesn't look fluffy. I think if I pet that, it's going to be coarse.
Okay.
But like
this feels to me, this is going to feel like a German Shepherd, which like sometimes they're a little coarse.
Yeah. It doesn't.
But they're floofy, and I'm like, I want to get in there and like scratch you behind the ears.
Yeah. That's because you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I feel like I know what this dog or this wolf feels like, and I'm like, I want to pet that dog.
I want to pet that dog too.
And it's probably gonna eat my face, but that's okay. I think it's good. I like it.
Yeah. Spell Queller.
That's just neat.
It is, and let's
look at its face.
Well, this one's so different. I want to also pull up the original because. The original is one of these quintessential. This is what spirits look like on Innistrad in particular. Yeah. It's just these cloaks, and sometimes they've got blue glowy energy inside them, but they always got the cloak. And this was a significant competitive card in Standard at the time. Like this is a creature counterspell. It's a counterspell that can eventually win the game. So I don't know if it's particularly relevant anymore. I know Spirits has been I think a modern, or is it a Pioneer deck at some point? But
I think there was a Pioneer deck. There could be a modern one,
I don't live in that world well enough to know.
I'm not informed on this topic. I'm not going to weigh in on it.
Yeah.
But I really like... This is super different from previous iterations of Spirits in general on Innistrad. I quite like it. It's very otherworldly,
like you said,
in a new
face
kind of way.
is so
The face
neat.
is really interesting.
It's kind of Pillbug Armadillo-esque. It's just got such a big
it's got this
to
big
its
arched back,
which is neat. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like this thing a lot. It's like it has this to me. Aesthetically, it's super different, but it feels like a Studio Ghibli kind of monster.
You're right.
Like, I could see this thing showing up in a movie, and you're like, I don't wholly understand what this is, but it's cool.
Yeah. What I just gasped about is that I just realized through the frame there's a pumpkin.
You can put this in your
Reaper King.
Your Reaper King deck. You gotta fit this in.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Because my Reaper King deck, pretty much every card I can find that has a pumpkin on it is in there.
Make it.
Yeah,
do it. You gotta get this.
Secondarily, cards with candles, and this has both.
This has both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this.
I don't know how much this thing is, but we're getting this for you.
Absolutely. Yes.
We will find a way to get you a copy of this card.
And it's got a lantern. I love the lanterns. And that's just like a lot of the spirits on Innistrad have that. So I am...
Yeah, this is great.
A+.
Top tier. We love it.
Conjurer's Closet. This is
a personal favorite card of mine.
Is it? I did not realize this was originally an Innistrad card. And sure enough, Avacyn Restored.
Yeah.
Avacyn Restored's a weird set.
I love Enter the Battlefield effects.
Yeah.
And while I don't frequently play like Blink as a archetype, I do have a blue-black commander deck that is entirely about Reanimator and Blink. And because, hey, another way you can get a value out of Enters the Battlefield effects is when they enter from the graveyard. You don't have to cast them from your hand. But I just love the idea of this, like, closet to Narnia that they go into and then reemerge, and it's like, surprise, we're back. So this is a very interesting iteration. We've got some candles, and it's less of a closet. It's more of like a spooky cave. This is
a closet in the forest.
Yeah. So it's a little more...
Oh no, it has pumpkins too.
You gotta get this too.
Oh no.
You gotta do it.
It's... What do I take out of this deck? Okay, yep.
Yeah, you gotta make room for Conjurer's Closet. But yeah, it's really, really cool.
It is.
I like the idea of the closet being more of a metaphor versus like an actual closet.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like this spooky hole in a tree or like this weird tunnel made of wood that you can crawl inside, and there's all these candles and pumpkins and whatnot. Yeah, I love this. I'll probably pick this up just because I love this card so much.
Yeah. I had never seen this Secret Lair printing.
I have not seen that either.
I don't know what Secret Lair was a part of, but there was a... This
fantastic.
Is not the second card for Conjurer's Closet. This is the third. Apparently this came out in...
I've never seen that
2021.
Before. That's amazing.
Skeletons, you should be so lucky. Gisa 2 girl.
I kind of want that too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that... Honestly, this feels way more Innistrad than the standard art.
Oh, yeah. That feels... Like, the standard art, or the original art for this, does not really place it in Innistrad.
That feels Duskmourn.
Yeah.
It was way ahead of its time.
Very ahead of its time.
Because that's like the Poltergeist vibe.
That feels like the Glitch Ghosts. Like, this does not necessarily feel like an Innistrad thing. The promo Secret Lair, very Innistrad.
Yeah. Okay. And finally... I assume we can't just pass by Sorin.
We can't just pass by Sorin.
Which, interestingly, though it's Sorin, this was not printed in an Innistrad set. This is a core set, 2020.
Yeah, because this is Sorin Imperious Bloodlord.
And is this the one that just got banned in Pioneer? Yes,
yep,
it is.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yep.
I like the statues behind him with the bleeding eyes. That's a nice touch.
I've seen that before, but sure is.
Yeah.
His armor is very textured. Like,
Yeah.
feel that is... I like the same way you know what the wolf feels like. I know what that armor feels like.
Yeah.
That is cool. If you try and touch it, he will murder you.
Yeah, probably.
But you know, if he's seen you, he might murder you anyway. So
I mean, you might as well.
Yeah.
If you're gonna die,
you only die
you
once.
might as well find. Well, on Innistrad, that's probably.
Oh
not
yeah,
true.
why am I saying that?
Yeah, I don't think that's true, strictly speaking. But if you're gonna die, we might as well find out what Soren's leather jacket feels like.
Yeah.
Right? He looks very. He reminds me of the Witcher in this one.
I agree. He's a little bit too manly man features compared to him.
He's not
he normally
usually
just has
quite
more of that androgynous or softer features.
Yeah, he looks more like the Witcher here.
Yeah.
Just not a bad thing, it's just a bit of a departure.
Yeah. This is an interesting effect too here. This like black
Yeah, that's part of his
sword.
that's part of his sword. So like that shows up in or like it's magic tied to his sword because I think you see it on I think it's on Anguished Unmaking as well.
Okay, is it in the okay. It's not in the other art of
No,
this card.
it's like I'm pretty sure it's on Anguished Unmaking when he's destroying Avacyn. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Well, I see that all over her, so I didn't realize that. But okay, I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, and it's coming out of his hand as well. Okay. They also include these art treatments from Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. Honestly, I don't like them and I don't really care to talk about them.
Yeah, we can just skip those.
Is it worth addressing Edgar Markov just because...
Did you call him Edward?
Yes. Eddie.
Eddie Markov?
Eddie Markov.
Is he Eddie Markov
Yeah,
now?
it's Eddie Markov. So... I figure we ought to at least mention this.
We might as well.
I'm not a big fan of this frame or or even less the Midnight Hunt Booster Fun frame, but honestly, in gold, this kind of works.
It kind of works. It kind of works.
I think this is the first gold card that they've printed with this.
I think it might be.
Or maybe...
Is it?
Maybe the other gold ones they had like the two-tone because it was a two-color card, but this one is three-color and so it's pure.
This one kind of works.
It does. This also has a portraiture feel. This feels more Renaissance in the way the light is reflecting off his armor and everything, because there's like a beam of light.
Yeah, it's like very.
And we just have all the hands reaching in with the toast.
Yeah, it's kind of evocative too of like if you look at his original art, you have like all these guys that are standing around holding up the chalices and like holding out his sword for him, and
which is so much more martial and imposing.
It's very imposing.
And we're below him.
Yeah,
he's looking down on us.
Obviously.
But I mean,
we're still kind of beneath him.
But he's not looking at us. And so I guess
we're not even of it, like we're below his level of interest. Like he's not even going to deign to look at us in this one.
But also he's not about to go to battle. So
he's just sitting down.
This is just revelry.
Yeah.
This is chill, Eddie.
We got to talk about the Judge promo one though, if we're going to talk about Eddie.
They didn't include that. They didn't reprint that art here, did they?
No, that one is unfortunately the only way you can get.
I mean, that's kind of appropriate for Judge promos, yeah. But okay,
but
so
like,
let's look at that.
Look at the Judge promo one.
Yeah, that one is it the Volturi from Twilight?
Yeah,
that's that.
Just like this is such a different take. And I don't know who the other two figures are in the background. I assume they're other like heads of vampire houses, but I don't know who they are.
This looks like they're all models. This is the LA ones.
Yeah.
This
is the Hollywood adaptation of Eddie Markov's biopic.
There are some like horror movies where they just obviously cast a bunch of hot people. Yeah.
But everybody's like hot in a Hollywood way.
Yeah.
It's like perfect teeth,
plastic
like,
Hollywood,
very plasticky,
and it just like takes you out of this being a horror movie, and it's just a different thing altogether. Yeah. And that's what this feels like.
Yeah.
It's also cool.
It's cool.
But
I think the original is my personal favorite.
Original feels like this was a warlord who discovered immortality and
he was an alchemist actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. He found the secret to immortality and he's clearly capitalizing on it. He's having a great time. Good old Eddie Markov.
And so I guess that'll be a great segue into the last treatment we're talking about today, which is the movie poster style. And I guess this one is just available in serialized. But all the other movie posters are just available in collector's boosters. But just Edgar, since he is, what do they call it, the spotlight character or the featured character of this set, has a serialized card. And here it is. I feel like if you're referencing anything with an Edgar Markov card, it's Dracula. So I'm just going to pull up the Christopher Lee era.
I was going to say, it was like kind of Christopher Lee Dracula.
Yep. Though maybe his work was a little after the time period these movie posters reference. I'm not sure. But here we're looking like Scars of Dracula's 1970. That's way too...
I mean, he did quite a few. He also did a lot of work with the Hammer Horror Studio in general.
Yeah.
I don't know when he started doing that, but like him and Peter Cushing did a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in that era of like the more classical horror movies, but honestly these look like Universal Studios more so than they do like Hammer.
Yeah, okay. They definitely evoke the thing they're trying to evoke.
Yeah.
Though I don't have the familiarity with posters and the history of particular eras to recognize it. But this guy also recommend the model of his face. It makes me think of this one actor who I've seen in like 2 movies ever, and one of those a romantic comedy that I had on VHS in like the early 90s, and I think we've talked about before in the early 90s. There was 10 years before streaming was invented.
Yeah.
You watched what you had over and over.
If you happened to have a videotape of something, sometimes you just watched that. It wasn't because it was your favorite movie, it was just because it was available.
Yeah, and this is no one's favorite movie. It's called For Love or Money. It's just like completely forgotten by everyone except me, but I had it on VHS.
Yeah.
And so I
it's
saw
burned into your brain forever.
It's a Michael J. Fox movie, and I've seen it 1,000 times. And here it is. Udo Kier, I think, and he had this accent. He was like the concierge in this movie. But
this reminds me of when I don't know what you were doing. You were not present, but I had to explain streaming to your daughter. Yeah. And I've never felt so old. And how, because she was asking me something about like if I had seen a show, if I liked this show when I was a kid, and I was like, no, like I didn't know this show existed until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then we got into like, well, what did you watch as a child? And then she asked me something about Netflix, and I was like, okay, so the thing is Netflix did not used to be available on your TV.
Okay, this is wild though. I'm just clicking through.
Yeah.
He has played Dracula.
Oh, that's weird.
So this is probably not a coincidence at all. It's probably this, I didn't realize he had done that.
Okay.
Whoever was.
So maybe this is a very intentional reference, perhaps.
In which case,
and you just like it unlocked.
That was an amazing work on Jack Hughes' part, making that recognizable.
Okay, so I have a complaint about this.
Yes.
In general, and this is hard to help because Eddie Markov has so much text on his card. Yeah. He's got just a mountain of text. Yeah. I'm going to take a tiny moment to brag. Is before they started printing showcase cards and stuff, and I made a textless altar I spliced together. This was back when the cards were like $1.50 a piece. I do want to preface with that. I bought a pile of them and a couple of the oversized cards, and I took an X-Acto knife and I did a foil peel and I spliced together a full art Eddie Markov, and I still have it.
You've still never shown that to me.
Oh, I should have brought it for this episode.
I can send a picture and
I'll send you a picture. You can showcase it later.
And actually bring it next time because I want to see it.
I will bring it next time. It's quite cool. So small issue. Yeah. He's got all this text.
Yes.
There's so much going on here with Eminence, First Strike, Haste. He makes tokens whenever you cast vampires. He also puts +1 counters on vampires. There's a lot happening. So the overall design of this feels real busy.
Yeah.
What I do like, though, I love the fallen angel that's falling into his hands.
Yeah.
Because that's how he unlocks vampirism, is by draining the blood of an angel.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's some great storytelling.
So that is top tier.
Absolutely. All right, let's get back and look at the other movie poster arts. Oh man, most of these are pretty cool. I don't know if I want to skip a bunch of them.
Why are they all so cool? That's not fair.
We'll just open them up and talk through them. Emrakul, The Promised End.
This is so cool.
It is.
I love the flying exclamation point, trample exclamation point, protection from instance exclamation point.
And this is the one that's a little sci-fi because I mean Emrakul is. Yeah. She's alien.
Yeah.
And so this is more like, it makes me think of Them, the giant ant movie.
Yeah, this feels more like a sci-fi illusion. I really like the creepy dripping font that they went with. with for the title.
Yeah.
I love that this is a colorless card, so they didn't have to use the mana symbols. She just costs 13 mana. Yeah. That's nice.
That's excellent.
And then this one has less text going on, so it actually works quite well with how they've formatted this. Like, this one feels a lot less busy to me, and I think this really nails the movie poster aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I love that she's, like, ripping the spire off of that.
Oh, yeah. That's like, Bring to Light?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's kind of similar.
Oh, it's kind of similar. That was a misremembering on my part, and that's a Zendikar card, not an Innistrad card. Never mind.
We'll
Forget
that.
No, we won't. But maybe.
Maybe we will.
All right, Avacyn, Angel of Hope.
That's super cool.
This is a weirdly dark card for an angel.
It is a weird, yeah.
Like,
so is that like Gristlebrand behind her? Like, who is that?
I don't know. Does Gristlebrand have hairy fingers?
I don't know. Somebody with real hairy fingers.
Like Avacyn. Doesn't she get... She's trapped in the Hell Vault with someone.
I thought she was trapped in there with Gristlebrand.
I think you're right. So maybe that is who that's supposed to be. But also maybe it's just supposed to be creepy and indescript.
That works. That's fine too.
But yeah, I guess how do you... It's not hopeful enough for Avacyn and for Avacyn Angel of Hope.
Yeah.
But it is Innistrad.
Yeah.
And they're horror movie posters, so I guess that's fine. And she's not losing.
No.
She's being threatened, but she's not.
Like, he's trying to crush her, but she's sort of like, no, I'm trying.
I don't know. Maybe there was a better way to represent that, but it's still
I think
cool.
it's interesting that, like, this is Avacyn's card. Mm-hmm. She is the Angel of Hope. And she kind of feels like a supporting character.
You're right.
On this card.
Yeah. Interesting just outlines of the mana symbols to make it not too light.
Yeah. I do really like how they're playing around with the templating and stuff for these. That's quite fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know where to look to find information, but that's okay.
Yeah. This circle of stars around the power toughness, I guess that's just like a Paramount Pictures reference. Yeah. But like it's not close enough to violate copyright, but it's like
it's legally distinct.
Legally distinct.
Oh, Cathar's Crusade looks cool.
That's like Night of the Living Dead imagery, right?
That's super one of those... cool looking.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that.
Very menacing. Well, I mean, it's like the one before this. Avacyn is like, this is too dark for a white
It is
card.
very dark.
And the normal art for this card just isn't that dark. It's like showing the might of the Cathars combined. It's kind of one of those rare moments.
There's like one Cathar going on this crusade. There's some people in the back.
All the others have been murdered.
But they've probably been murdered.
By the demon clouds.
Yeah, but there's this one guy who's like, no, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see this through.
Yeah.
For what that's worth.
Which I guess is a kind of a statement about perseverance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this card is about. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what, like, humans on Innistrad represent, is like it's them against all these monsters.
They survive.
And they somehow continue to survive.
Yeah. I know that's Duskmourn's thing, but it's also the humans thing first.
They kind of did it first.
Yeah. Captivating Vampire.
I really like this because the original Captivating Vampire just looks like Chris Angel. And I don't love that. But...
Oh, yep, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong?
No.
But this is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's got that nice balance between, is this romantic or murderous?
I think there's a Christopher Lee Dracula poster where he's holding a woman in a similar pose. One of his it's kind of like, I think at first it's like, oh, is this a romance novel? And then you're like, no, not exactly.
There's blood there.
Yeah, there's blood.
But there is no blood visible here.
There's no visible blood, so it could be.
We just have to use context clues, like the fact that it's called Captivating Vampire.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, this card doesn't actually murder other cards. This steals control of other cards.
Grabs them. So.
Yeah. So actually, they're probably not murder. There might be some biting.
There could be some biting.
But it's more to establish a relationship.
Yeah.
But also, there are not big obvious fangs, and this honestly looks like a happy... Let's smile.
Yeah.
That doesn't look predatory.
Yeah.
Or as predatory, like most vampires usually do.
Yeah.
So this is a nice, variation from all that.
Yeah. And then we got the Demon Gristlebrand.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, Gristlebrand was already kind of peak cool. And...
I love this Cathar in the bottom corner that's like, look at this! Are y'all seeing this? Tell me I'm not the only one that's seeing this.
Yeah. This kind of feels like it's stealing Ormondal's vibe,
Yeah,
though.
it kind of does.
Like, Ormondal is the demon that specifically gets big over Thraben.
Yes.
Like...
Girl, like, what are you doing, Gristlebrand?
Come on. You do that with the Hell Vault or something.
Yeah. You're kind of stepping on Ormondal's toes.
Yeah. I think, this isn't as cool to me just because Gristlebrand's already so cool. You know, like, you couldn't go up from there. And also this guy. What is he doing?
That guy in the corner, though, really makes it for me. I'm just like, he's like, fun. I need you to see this, too.
This isn't as cool as the other Gristlebrands, but it is very fun.
It's fun. I like that.
Meat Hook Massacre.
Meat Hook Massacre.
This is like the most like its original art.
Yeah.
Because it's once again watching this thing from behind with a bunch of meat hooks in front.
Yeah.
There's no hook that looks like a monkey.
Yeah, that's missing. We do have some interesting hooks.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah, there's some variety.
Yeah, we got a variety of meat hooks. This is like
the Museum of Hooks.
Yeah, Meat Hook History.
The Meat Hook History Museum.
Meat Hook History Museum.
Yeah. The mana symbol's a little harder to read than normal.
A little bit.
Oh, I had forgotten. It's literally black X.
Yeah, it is black X, so that's an interesting take on that. I like the little hook they incorporated in there. Yeah. That's kind of cute.
I mean, all of these, you just kind of gotta accept the compromise you're making.
You're also probably not playing this version of the card if you don't know what it does.
Yeah. But the one playing it, aren't the only one who needs to know.
That's true.
That's the problem.
That's valid.
And a few years ago, we had a friend here who was at a commander night, and I hand him one of my decks, and it's got the Beast Within movie poster card.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What? How?"
Yeah.
Because the information is not in a clear place.
It is. They have sacrificed clarity for the aesthetic, which is a choice, and some of us love that choice. But for some people, it is hard to understand.
Yeah, 'cause we forget how absurdly complex this game is.
Yeah, it does, especially when you're playing like Commander formats where you have all these cards that were never meant to interact together. Yeah. Well, now I guess that's not so true, but still, there's a lot going on, and we do sometimes take for granted that not everybody has like encyclopedic knowledge of what Beast Within does.
Yeah,
and
weird.
Yeah, so weird. Some people have other hobbies, I guess.
Yeah. The next two of these are two that we've already talked about because they are reprints from other sets that were not Innistrad. Is that how you say that? Innistrad?
I have said that. I don't know that that's correct.
That's how we say that.
I've said that.
That's how we do that.
We're going to make that a thing.
So, Through the Breach, once again, Emrakul gets featured on 2 cards.
Now, I take mild issue with the fact that they made Splice onto Arcane so big in the text. It does not need to be that big. It's not going to matter. And they put the other stuff, like, up in the top.
Oh, you're right. I love... It looks so cool, though.
It looks cool, but I'm like, that doesn't matter.
On the downside... This is the most jellyfish-like Emrakul has looked.
Jellyfish.
Usually, it's apparent that she is levitating in the sky, and that she is like kind of inverted cones. Whereas this one, it looks like she's a dome.
Yeah, this one feels very
and maybe
jellyfish.
a little floppy and like not so agile on the land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it? Because this looks like rushing water on both sides, right? That's different. Huh. All right. On to the next.
Yes. Hermit
Druid. Now this is different. This is wildly different than the Hermit Druid we looked at earlier.
Very different. I like it though.
What? But it's not a zombie card. But there's a zombie bear here.
There's a zombie bear.
This is like a flesh taker art.
Yeah, that's like that bear from what's the name of that movie? This is really gonna bother me.
Oh,
Annihilation.
The one who speaks. Yeah, the Help Me Bear.
Yeah, and then this guy. I don't know, he kind of doesn't feel like he's from Innistrad. Like, he kind of feels like he might be lost.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem worried about the zombie bear.
Yeah.
At all.
It kind of looks Asian, right?
He does, a little bit.
The facial features a little bit, but I think it's mostly...
I think it's his hair, too, and the clothing.
You know what? Yes. That hairstyle.
Yeah.
And the, that...
Because, like, my first thought was, is this guy from Kamigawa? And then I was like, no, I don't know. Maybe he's...
the same hunch.
But, he doesn't look concerned about the zombie bear in the slightest.
No. Which, I guess, his movie, he's the hero of that movie... And I mean, that makes it feel more like a martial arts movie, where you have this character who's basically a superhero and just goes around
like,
and
he's
like
not,
takes care of everything.
He's gonna, like, if this zombie bear does anything out of pocket, he's gonna deal with it. Like, he's not worried about it.
Also, the zombie bear feels more like the real focus of the card than the
like, that's the first thing I see.
Yeah,
is the zombie bear.
And you know what? That's something that's true, but with this art and with the other new art that we have for this card, is that they are really focused on a bunch of animals. But this is not a. This isn't an Elvish Piper type card.
Which is interesting because this
ramps.
Yeah.
So it's peculiar.
I mean, I guess it ramps you, but it also puts a bunch of stuff into your graveyard. Which, if you're intentionally putting stuff in your graveyard, it's probably because you're going to use it later.
And this here at the bottom, and all other cards revealed this way into your graveyard. That kind of does emphasize that nicely. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
I had truly forgotten
the land card is like...
I got so excited about ramping that I forgot the rest.
I'm like, that is a side note. Okay, the idea is we're going to put a bunch of stuff in
And that's the difference between us. You being so focused on black, and I also like black. It's my second color, but green.
I'm like, lands are great. You know what's better?
Stuff in your graveyard.
It's reanimating shoulder out of your graveyard. It's your second hand. That's what's better.
All right.
I was like, reanimate only costs 1 black. I don't need a pile of lands to do that.
Let's save this one for last, and let's look at Olivia.
Olivia. She's also striking quite a pose.
I confuse my Olivias. This is the one from
the original. This is original Olivia.
Who just floating ethereally over the staircase with all the masked admirers in her court. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we have certainly the sexiest of these movie posters. Perhaps the only one who has that vibe.
Yeah.
I'm not making that up, right? Like this hand on hips pose and everything, this dominating stance.
She feels like she's in a Dario Argento movie. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of sexy.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of scary, and like I love how her...
And it should be.
I love how her hair is like turning into bodies behind her.
I forgot. That's just part of what her cape does, right?
Yeah, like that's a really cool...
in some of her other cards. I thought that was
I think that's in some of her Crimson Vow art.
Right. Because that has a narrative. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So like her train or her cape has this very interesting effect.
And we see it in her cowboy hat version too.
To her cowboy cosplay event.
Olivia Opulent album.
Yes.
Okay. So back to
but I like that the way they included that here.
They did. That's really cool. That's a great backing.
It's quite nice.
Element.
Yeah.
The disembodied eyes up above feels very well. This to me feels more like 60s. We're getting 60s. 70s horror movie rather than these others, which
they feel a little bit older.
They do. They feel
like 50s.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, this feels more like 60s, 70s.
I'm hesitant to misspeak because I've already misstated so much about.
I kind of don't love the giant eyes above everything, just because for me they're kind of distracting in this composition.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they add a lot to this, but I do like. I like some of the templating, like how they dealt with her mana symbol. Mm-hmm. I don't love her power toughness, just like, oh yeah, she's a 3/3 off to the side. But like there's
nothing balancing it on the other side.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, that's kind of wonky to me. But she's striking quite the pose, which again, this is one of those cards where she gains control of another vampire.
The domineering pose is not a coincidence.
No. So she's kind of in that captivating vampire category in this iteration.
I talked about World of Warcraft-esque giant shoulders before. This is a whole nother level with I just noticed these enormous hoops, which are she already has enormous shoulder pads, but then
she was like,
no,
we can make it more. We can make it more.
Yep. That
just everything about her outfit is so over the top, because she's got like the big Elizabethan collar thing going on, like the shoulder hoops, the hair, the cloak made out of bodies.
Fashion icon.
Fashion icon Olivia.
And then let's bring it home with
the Gitrog monster.
What an absolute classic.
Look at this little friend here about to eat those unsuspecting fishermen.
Yeah, out in the marsh.
This one is great. I really like the templating on this one. It reads very, like, it's different, but I think it's similar enough to how we're used to seeing Magic cards that it's not as disorienting to me. But yeah, absolutely love this critter.
Yeah, it feels like there's this whole genre of Creature from the Black Lagoon and other like swamp thing.
Look up the poster for the movie Frogs. It's just called Frogs.
That it?
Yeah. Which, if you will notice, this is a 70s horror movie, has a hand hanging out of the mouth, which is a Gitrog monster.
Is this the original?
That might be the original one. The one that I'm thinking of, though, is the first one you looked at.
That has this woman in the swamp below.
Yeah, because that's the one that was on the
clip
DVD.
art.
Yes. It's not great, but it's like very Gitrog monster in that it has the hand hanging out of the mouth.
You're right.
And so
that's good.
I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah. I love what they did with this one. This is the number of tabs you have open is
criminal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion. I also have thousands of unread emails.
I can't even look at the notifications on your phone, like the little bubbles, because it makes me.
It's gotten worse because there are now more apps that I've lost.
Oh,
anyway.
No. Okay, we can't talk about that. I'm getting too that's making my brain itch. But yeah, I love how this looks. This is fantastic, and just like I love how unaware that fisherman is.
I've seen a lot of interesting variety of pupils, but this is a new thing altogether.
This is a new one, yeah. I like how otherworldly it is.
Maybe they're supposed to represent reflections, but they look like just weird pupils.
They look real weird.
Because they're the same on both sides.
Yeah, they look very weird, but I like it. I think it's very good.
Part of me says, that's old Rutstein. I don't know why I'm thinking that. I think it's just that lantern.
It's probably just the lantern.
Because they have like this they have a tricorn hat, don't they?
I think that guy is never seen again. That's what I think.
Huh, I wonder why you think that.
Yeah.
Neat. So yeah, it'll be hard not to go through all my money at this set, but we'll see how well I do.
Well, I have a boatload of store credit at our LGS, so it will not be that hard.
Just the question of what exactly.
Well, it's probably going to be the continuing problem in that every time I think of something I really want, I go check their stock and they don't have it. So more than likely, the thing I really want, they won't have, and then I'll still have to sit on my store credit until I find something I want to spend it on.
Yeah, c'est la vie. Okay.
So, I don't know.
Neat. Good times.
What a terrible problem to have, right? It's just like, I have all this store credit and I can't find anything to spend it on.
I'm very sorry.
Thank you for your sympathy. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't think you got the recording of me talking about the cadaver head, but we'll skip over that.
Oh, will we? All right.
I was telling you a story about a box I opened at work.
Yeah, which those who have not watched enough of this channel to know you work at a veterinarian office might find that very odd.
It was for educational purposes.
Yes.
We needed a cadaver head for educational purposes. But we received a box from a company called Skulls Unlimited, which I, of course, had to go open.
It does have a pretty cool logo.
It has a pretty cool logo, and I was like, this is going to be the most exciting box I've ever opened at work. And it was. It was pretty great. I took the box home. It's now my recycling box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where I put my my old papers now.
And that's not a medical hazard?
No, it's just the cardboard box.
Yeah.
Why would it be a medical hazard?
I have no idea how the packaging works on this.
I'll explain.
Okay.
If you've ever been to the grocery store and you've had to buy one of those like thermal bags to take home frozen meats and stuff. So it comes in something kind of like that. And it's like packed, I think, with dry ice or something in there. A lot of the stuff we received is on ice packs. And so this was sealed up in sort of like a foil, like, meat preservation thermal bag. Wow. So the cardboard totally untouched, unsullied, perfect for me to put old letters inside.
Which I guess they would have to in order to be ship this through any normal means.
Yeah, the post office doesn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
They will return packages if they're
biohazards.
If they think they're biohazard. You have to put special stickers on them.
That's fair.
But yeah, anyway, that's where I put my old junk mail now.
Neat.
So that's fun.